All right, guys, I got some colossal breaking news. I'm sure most of you have known by now that James Franklin has been fired from Penn State. It came down around noon Eastern time, right before the NFL games kicked off today, or during it for most people. But yeah, he's been fired. It's over. His tenure there is over with, and there has been a regime change there. And it's not the only regime change that happened today. I believe Oregon State had a coach fired today. Trent Dilfer was fired at UAB. But certainly the big one was James Franklin. As I'm watching Sunday Night Football here on my TV in the studio, James Franklin is out as head coach at Penn State. Um, this this is really weird. So I have a lot of ways I can sort of look at this. Um, I can sort of look at this obviously in two ways here. I know this is not a very formal video; it's a very casual video. But I was gonna wait until Tuesday, but you know, it being Sunday and whatnot, and it's gonna be 2 days old before we talk about it again. At least when we talk about it, not really relevant to talk about in that matter. So I figured we'll just do a video, quick little video here. But two ways I can sort of look at it. Number one, I can look at it from the human element that it sucks that James Franklin isn't longer coaching football. It sucks because at least I know from listening to him, listening to guys like Josh Pate talk about him, and sort of the way he carries himself. There is a human element here. I know he was talking about, or at least Josh Pate was making a big deal about his kids and whatnot, and his family and how they feel right now, and how James feels right now. And look, it sucks right now. I have no doubt about it. It sucks right now that he won't be coaching football the rest of the year. He's no longer employed anywhere. Um, that sucks. Not being able to do what you love to do is something that I cannot fathom. At least in my profession, being a podcaster, outside of me having complete surgery, which may happen in the future. Who knows? You never know. Besides that, I mean, that can really ruin your career. At least in the podcasting world, having surgery or something that could really cripple you from having the ability to do your show. And the college football world, it's not being able to coach. And we're seeing a lot of great coaching minds in the NFL right now, coaching right now that are employed, and James Franklin's not. Todd Bowles, Dan Campbell, Andy Reid, Mike McDaniel to a certain extent. Just naming off a couple of guys that I've seen today. Those are guys who are employed right now, and James Franklin is not. It sucks right now, and yeah, it does suck. Yeah, I mean, I did put that little tweet earlier, well, not earlier, but last night about sort of a bit of a joke, if you will. Yeah, it was a joke. Look, coming from someone like me, it doesn't necessarily call for guys to get fired. I did post that little video last night about George Bush during the Iraq War, talking about certain things before leading up to it. It was a joke. It wasn't like me insinuating that I wanted James Franklin to be fired. No, but I can also understand from the side of the I can understand it from the administration standpoint. Hey, look, the team's starting to quit. Things are not going too well. There might be some stuff that we're not privy to, that they're privy to, that they're hearing about, and we're not necessarily privy to, and they have access to, and they're hearing about certain stuff about, like, culture and stuff like that, and how the program is running. And look, that might be true to a certain extent, but overall, I'm not saying that you should feel bad for the guy. I mean, look, he's getting paid $1 million to not coach. And that's kind of what's happening right now, and that's what it is. But from the human element standpoint, I get it, right? He's not being able to coach. He's not doing what he is not doing what he wants to do, and that'd be like me, like it'd be sort of like me having some like crippling surgery, not being able to do this show. That's the same idea here. I mean, albeit medical and real life stuff's different, but I mean, it's sort of the same general idea of not being able to do what you love, and that sucks right now for James Franklin. But the overall toxicity level is really intense. Just the whole atmosphere around State College right now, it wasn't good last night. Yesterday, it wasn't good before, and I don't know. It's very confusing right now in college football, and it's something that Josh Pate has echoed multiple times, and I'll echo it here based on what I've heard from industry types, folks who really cover the sport hardcore, at least a lot more than me, is that because last year was so quiet, especially in the Southeastern Conference in terms of coaching changes, this year the temperature is gonna be risen up very high. Like meaning like translation, we're gonna get a whole bunch of coaches getting fired here in the SEC, especially like Hugh Freeze in particular. I think it's one that's easy to point out right now. He's probably next in terms of the hot seat situations. Bill Napier is probably there as well. I mean, I have no joy in saying those guys are getting fired. Like, again, I get it from human stuff. It sucks, and you have a family there, folks that are. You have to understand these folks are real people. These aren't robots in a video game like in College Football 26. These are real people. These are not clones you're dealing with. These are real, actual, living, breathing human beings who have to deal with actual life-changing stuff. And it sucks right now. It does. But it's the nature of the business. And I think of the world of college football, sort of the way things are sort of going, as I'm watching the NFL in front of me right now on my screen. I know you guys can't see it on YouTube. This will be going on YouTube here shortly. But as I'm watching Dan Campbell coaching the Lions right now, I mean, that's sort of where college football is kind of going right now. It's kind of going in the direction of the NFL. I don't like it per se. I don't like the fact that good coaches will get fired for just doing the bare minimum in what seems to be a throwaway season. I go back to Malzahn, and this is something that Josh Pitt, I think, did earlier. Go back to Malzahn at Auburn. He had that throwaway season. Well, I guess like two of them, technically in 2015 and 2018. In modern day college football, Gus Malzahn would have been fired at Auburn. Like he would have been fired. And you basically saw that in 2020. But I mean, if Auburn in 2015, 2020, or not 2020. Well, I guess sort of 2020, but like 2015 Auburn, 2018 Auburn. If that existed, and that whole situation existed in college football today, and the current situation, not Hugh Freeze. Oh man, Gus Malzahn would have been fired. Like he would have been gone. And I think that's pretty evident based on the way the sports are going right now. Again, look, could you make the argument that there needed to be a regime change at State College in Pennsylvania right now? Sure, maybe. You could have made that argument. You could have made the argument that the team was quitting list yesterday, and they quit. The players are quitting, and that's what you get, and that's probably fair. But I guess from the human element of it, I mean, again, these are real people. These are real individuals who care about college football, who care about it. And for James Franklin, I don't think Josh Pitt mentioned this on the show earlier. If I'm James Franklin, don't do what Kevin Sumlin did after he got fired from Texas A&M. Take a couple years off. Just relax. You have your buyout money. Just chill for a little bit. Go do TV. Now, as they say, your stock does not go down when you do TV. It keeps going up, right? Go ask, John Gruden, Sean Payton, in terms of the NFL examples. Those are out there. And I think someone like Dan Mullen's out there too. He's another example of a guy whose stock was rising on TV and was not falling because he was on TV. And I think James Franklin could definitely benefit from that. So if I'm James, if I'm his camp, go do TV. Don't jump into a job. I don't take the Florida job. I don't take the Auburn job, hypothetically. Don't do it. Just stop now and just don't do it. Because, again, remember Kevin Sumlin, right? Kevin Sumlin got fired from Texas A&M, and Sumlin went from getting fired from Texas A&M, going to Arizona, and just he got fired in 3 years. Don't do it, okay? Because that ruined Kevin Sumlin's sort of ruined him as a person spiritually and as a coach. It just completely ruined him. And it's sad to see what happened to him, given some of the off-the-field issues of him right now currently. But that's what I think James Franklin needs to avoid. Don't do what Kevin Sumlin did and go get back into coaching immediately. Just relax. It's okay. You have your buyout money. You can survive. And go do what Dan Mullen did for multiple years and go do what, guys like even in college basketball, like Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl took off coaching, albeit that was a little bit different situation because of the whole show cost thing. But even Bruce Pearl, in college basketball, took off multiple years and did ESPN before he got hired again. That's James Franklin. Don't go back into coaching. Just go into TV. Don't stop now. Don't even think about it. Because again, your stock is not going to go any lower on TV. It's going to get higher, if anything. And I think a lot of folks in the NFL would say that too. Like, Sean Payton right now. We saw or who we saw earlier today in London. I mean, his stocks were rising higher than anyone on TV on Fox a couple years ago, and here he is coaching the Broncos. So, yeah, some thoughts on James Franklin. Look, I mean, his tenure there, unfortunately, it's going to get marred given what's happened this year, and it's understandable, but it's going to get forgotten that he did make it to a Big Ten championship game twice. Lost to Oregon last year, beat Wisconsin, took advantage of the Big Ten that was sort of fledgling a little bit. It sucks. It really does suck. But, you have guys like Josh Pate who will defend James Franklin. He's friends with him. And look, I've never met James Franklin before. I've not met him before. But I do understand his history. Right? I mean, a lot of folks will forget, like, this guy did sort of what Clark Lee's doing at Vanderbilt right now. Like, he won, 9 or 8 games and separately in 2 years at Vanderbilt. Just like insane stuff at Vanderbilt. Like, that guy deserves a stash show in Nashville for what he did there at Vanderbilt, and he deserves it. And it's unfortunate that folks are going to forget that James Franklin came in after the whole Penn State Joe Paterno scandal, in the early 2010s, and he comes in after Bill O'Brien, and you have to give O'Brien some credit too. And he was able to shepherd that program through some very hard times and a lot of bad stuff. And he was able to do a lot of that stuff. And I think a lot of folks will forget that he was able to do that. And he was able to do that in creating Penn State into sort of where Joe Pa had it before the scandal happened. And I think that's very important. And I think a lot of folks are going to forget that. And it's sad. But I don't know. I also understand that, this is a results-driven sport. And the results are not good enough this year. They are the first team, at least in my memory, that went from a top 3 team in the AP poll and the coaches poll to not being ranked and losing 3 in a row. Never happened before. That's not something that we have seen before. And that's something I'm struggling to process right now. Still, even multiple hours after it happened. But yeah, that's my thoughts on James Franklin. Just I know if it seems like I'm getting emotional here, I kind of am, because I listen to guys like Josh Pate, J.D. Pickell, and all these guys, Cover 3. I get these guys are humans. I get that they love college football like we do. Guys like him, Lane Kiffin, who gets dogged on a lot, he gets called all the nicknames. That's fine. I don't care about that. But it sucks right now, and it sucks. Now, have the interim coach for Penn State, and they'll do the coaching search, and we'll cover it appropriately when it's time to go over those names. We're not doing it right now. Look, I'm not saying that we should do like a whole eulogy on James Franklin. He's still alive. He's not dead. But it kind of feels like it, that we're having to do this, and it sucks. And I feel for him and his family, because this is a life-changing situation for them. But I also understand too, from the results-oriented situation at Penn State, that this was probably the avenue that was unavoidable, and it's happening right now. And I also, to add another branch to this, I agree with Josh Pate to a certain extent. Is this Gus Malzahn? Is this Penn State being a little too proactive in terms of doing a regime change that's a little bit extreme right now? I don't know, right? You saw what happened with Auburn, right? They hired Brian Harsin, and you thought, it's going to get better, and they hired someone who's a gruff person and a tough personality, and it turned out to be is that Penn State? I don't know. I really don't know. Could they hire John Sumrall and hire this and that and whatever? I don't know. I'm just throwing out names. I really don't know. But yeah, sucks for James Franklin. I know this happened earlier today. I know we're a little bit late on this, but of course the Bucks won today. Of course, we'll cover it out on Tuesday. A huge win from them. If you haven't noticed, I've been very active on Twitter. Just golf clap for Todd Bowles, and I'm finally getting over the hump. But yeah, so I guess I'll submit this to YouTube. Watching a Dan Campbell in front of me right now. Looks like he's crying right now on the sidelines, but that's okay. One of my favorite coaches to watch in the NFL right now, Dan Campbell. Him and Todd Bowles both today, proving a lot of folks wrong to a certain extent. Well, I mean, maybe not to that extent, but whatever. But yeah, hats off to Todd Bowles and my Tampa Bay Buccaneers for getting a huge win today over the 49ers, and we'll talk about that on Tuesday. But yeah, I'll submit this to YouTube. We'll premiere this in the morning. But yeah, James Franklin fired, coaching search in full effect. We'll see what the future holds for them, and it just is what it is right now. It sucks, but it is what it is. All right, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. Take care, and we'll see you then.